Hello everybody. Sorry I'm using Screencast-O-Matic, I hate that little thing, but I tried this video already 2 separate times with Cam Studio and it didn't work, needless to say. So now I haven't made a video in quite a while because my computer hasn't been working, but I saw this shooting happen and I knew that I had to cover it. So I'm just going to kind of hit the ground running here because I have a lot that I want to cover. I'm going to go over it quickly and you can look it up yourself if you want to see anything else. So the story is that one man, maybe two, it was 3 at first until they decided that the 3rd man wasn't actually a suspect, walked onto the Washington Naval Yard and started firing. He started in the courtyard on the 3rd floor. Most victims are from the 3rd and 4th floors. So he went up and got a better quote-unquote vantage point, is what they said. He killed 12 people and at least 3 are still in the hospital. He was killed in a shootout with the police. The quote from the police is that he definitely would have continued shooting if they did not shoot him and kill him. He would have kept going. Now, this building is supposed to be one of the safest facilities in the country. It's supposed to be incredibly secure. He got in by using somebody else's ID. So apparently if you have an ID in this facility, even though it is so secure, you don't have to get your bags checked if you're carrying around large bags or backpacks or anything like that. If you have an ID, everything's cool. You can bring in whatever you want to. He supposedly killed the first security guard he saw and took his handgun. Maybe that security guard saw that he had a huge duffel bag or, didn't match the ID and decided that he wanted to try to say something and then was shot, and apparently the shooter took his handgun after he killed him. This part gives me the chills. The weapons that he had on him at the time of death were a shotgun, a handgun, and an AR-15 style gun. Now, if you follow the shootings that I have been doing or looking at my videos, you will see that this is common among modern shooters. This is, I believe, because this covers the 3 primary classes of weapons that a civilian can get their hands on. So, basically now saying, look at all these guns that you can legally obtain and look at what kind of damage they can do, and we better cover all 3 bases because you can't feel safe against any types of guns because only crazy people have guns and they want to kill you and everybody be afraid. It's unclear if the man was aiming or shooting at random. I heard a couple different accounts that say he was aiming at specific people, but it could also be that he was shooting at random. We're not really sure about that yet. More than one news story has the incorrect date, and now this happens sometimes with Google Cache. You can go back and look, say, between 1980 and 2005, and you would find articles from today popping up about all kinds of different things. And here's actually a awesome YouTube video by someone named Glenn Waldrip, and he made this about it. This is basically, if you look at it, the date is September 15th at 11 p.m. So how were they able to have the date before posted? How were they able to have this? Here's another article from ABC News, a different headline. Police, FBI, shooter reported a military building at Washington Naval Yard, at least 1 victim. So one victim says it was early on, and again, the date right here is September 15th, which is yesterday, a day before the shooting. And here is the article in his video right here. Oops, sorry, that's not. I clicked on the wrong one. Here is that article in his video, the one that says September 15th, 11 something p.m. Taking a while to load. There must be a lot of people looking at it. Wow! So apparently this article has been taken down. I'm kind of speechless. They got busted, apparently. I mean, why else would you take that article down if you had nothing to hide? In fact, if I had nothing to hide, I would keep it up as an example that I had nothing to hide. So, wow, nice job, Glenn. Now you have some... I know that he's not lying. He didn't fabricate this because before they took it down, I actually clicked on that link myself. So, nice job, buddy. Good work. the scene of the crime at 1:35 p.m. my time, Central Standard Time, the law enforcement officials were unaware of how many shooters were actually involved, and at that time the FBI was in a what they called all assets out mode. So at this time they didn't actually know if there was another shooter or not, yet they didn't keep the metro transit station right next to the building closed. Why didn't they shut down the transit station directly next to Washington Yard? If there was another gunman, which was what they were supposed to be assuming, isn't it possible that he could have hijacked the train or slipped away in disguise? As well as other shooter stories, we see that protocol that should be followed isn't followed the way that it should be. Like, why would they keep that open? Building has over 3,000 employees. It's home to a base called NAVC, which when I went to look at it, I clicked on the About Me on the website, and this web part error right here actually came up. It wasn't up. So now it is back up. If you click on it, you can actually go to the About Me and see, oh, okay, well, this is what it's about. But when I was looking at it originally, this is what came up, web part error. And at first I thought, well, okay, maybe they don't have enough bandwidth to handle all of the people that are visiting, but that's not a bandwidth error. That's something else, and I'm not exactly sure, but it looks like they might have been doing something to that website during the time I was trying to look at it. So I got this explanation from Wikipedia because the NAVC site was down when I looked, but it says NAVC's primary objective is to engineer, build, and support the U.S. Navy's fleet of ships and its combat systems. Another interesting thing is that John Wilkes Booth, who supposedly shot Abraham Lincoln, this is one of America's first shooting instances, well, famous shooting instances, and it is, I believe, a conspiracy as well. There are just too many holes in the Abe Lincoln story for it to have happened the way it did. So this Naval Yard where the shooting happened today is the place that examined and identified John Wilkes Booth's body. So that's kind of interesting. If they were a part of that in the past, then maybe they were a part of conspiracies already in the past. Witnesses. A woman named Sherry Lawson was inside of building 197, and her account, as well as many other people's, were that they just heard something. They didn't see anything. She said she heard what sounded like somebody had dropped a table. She exited to a 10-foot wall, which was a dead end when she exited, and quote-unquote scaled it to get away. Now remember that, when Sherry exited, she ended up at a dead end and had to climb a wall to get out. Tim Juris, who was another witness, said that somebody had ran up to him from another building and said something like, "There's a shooter," or "I heard there's a shooter in your building," and at that moment, they were shot dead in front of him. So he did this news interview, and apparently, well, because he had said a couple things. He had talked about that man getting shot, and then he also said it sounded like a tap gun as opposed to a real gun. Now, this is a military official who has been around guns, I'm assuming, in the past and would know what they sound like. So here he is saying, oh, well, it sounded like a tap gun. Now, all of the news reporters say that after he did this interview, a group of FBI agents were there and they quickly whisked him away. So this could either be that they're trying to not let the public know a lot of information, but is that because they planned it or because they don't want to scare us? So Tim also looks very similar. Oh, look at that, another page down. Aren't we surprised? Good thing I took screen caps of it, you motherfuckers. So, this man, Captain Monty L. Ulmer, he is apparently the commanding officer at this naval yard. He is also in... Here's his picture as well, a little closer. So, we have this man, who I believe looks very similar to Tim Juris. And where's the screen cap I have? Here. So here is Tim Juris. And here, where'd he go? Excuse me, I have a little bit of a cold. And here is Monty. Oh man, sorry, it's really hard to see. But if you look at their eyes and their mustaches, and even, I mean, the shape of their face is a little different, but it's so hard to tell. I would really like if somebody has better pictures of either of these individuals, if you can tell me if they're different people. I think that it's pretty interesting that his website, his explaining who he is now down, because if that had nothing to do with it, then why would they take it down? But yeah, so I just think that Monty here looks very similar to this man, Tim Juris, who apparently saw someone get shot directly in front of him. One thing that I see is different is their ears, but that could also be the angle, so that's why I'm hoping someone else can find some better pictures of these individuals for me. Sean Carroll, who is a contractor for the building, says he never saw anything, much like all of the other witnesses, but he heard shots. Again, the same thing. He makes a comment about how he just assumed because of, quote-unquote, what you see on TV. Now, I think this describes exactly why hoaxes are able to get away with this type of thing. This is because we have been conditioned and prepped and programmed to believe that when we hear bangs and see chaos, wherever we are, there is an active shooter or some type of disaster. Now, 20 years ago, if somebody dropped a table, that's probably all that we would think. Oh, well, what was that noise? Someone must have dropped something. Even in this instance, these people sitting in these buildings probably heard one bang, two bang, and thought nothing of it. But then, if they see someone screaming, or if they see someone running, or if they see someone acting like they're in danger, that's immediately going to give them the assumption that there's a shooting happening. So what happens is this little seed is planted inside of them, this little seed of evidence is planted in them, they hear a bang, and then that's all it takes for them to assume the rest, and it snowballs throughout. The perception just snowballs through everyone who is involved in this incident. And he even says, "Oh my God, this is Fort Hood," meaning that he has apparently been watching news coverage of shootings, and so he connects the two. When he hears the bang, he sees people in chaos, he automatically assumes that there's a shooter even if there's not one to be seen. Of course, I went to see if there were any drills that happened before. We have this quote from a man named Dave Sarr, an environmental engineer, was walking down a nearby street when he saw people running from the Navy Yard. Sarr has seen an evacuation drill a few days earlier at the Navy Yard. "At first I thought it was just another drill," Sarr said. "Then I saw an officer with his weapon drawn." So we have this man saying, I wasn't able to verify this, but it's an eyewitness account saying that there have been drills. And actually this article is talking about how these buildings have had drills for X number of years. Oh my God, what is happening to all my articles? God, it's amazing. You can just watch them just go away right in front of you, right as you're clicking on them. But this one said buildings have been doing drills for years, like I think 10 plus years they've been doing these evacuation drills. So then we go back to this. We go back to good old Sherry Lawson, who ran out of her building and got trapped at a dead end and had to scale a wall. But wait a minute, Sherry. Weren't you a part of the numerous evacuation drills that had been happening in your buildings for all those years? Didn't you partake in the drill that had just happened a few days before at your specific building? Because if she had, she would have had a better escape route, and she would have known that there was a dead end there and that she couldn't get out that direction. So it tells me that this story, her story, is either theatrical or she just got caught up in the moment and went the wrong direction. This is also very interesting. Look at this, September 19th, what do we have? An active shooter workshop in D.C. This location happened 12 minutes away from our current shooter situation in the Naval Yard. Now this wasn't what we think of when we think of the shooter drill where we have all these military organizations together. No, this is actually preparing organizations to respond to active shooters, which I think connects back to this DC shooting because they had a very, very poor system intact for an active shooter. In fact, they had none. They had no system intact for an active shooter. So their response was to pull a fire alarm and to have everybody go running around outside. And so it's just kind of an example of, hey, look what happens when we're not prepared, when we don't have this type of drill in place because we don't know what's happening. Or we don't know what's happening if we don't have this drill in place. We're all just running around like chickens with our heads cut off. So that's one thing to look into is you know, why would they be holding that so close to there right after an organization showed how poorly they could handle an active. Alright, so like I said, we have this building showing how they are very poorly prepared for an active shooter, even though they're one of the safest buildings in America. And now then there's that drill that they did, or are supposed to do, in 3 days. So I'll be very interested to see if they follow through with it, or how that's connected. I'm not really sure yet, but it's just that coincidental thing that makes that little seed of curiosity sprout in your brain, I suppose. So then we go back to Sherry Lawson. If they had been doing these extensive trainings, like I said, how did she end up at a dead end? She should have had a different escape route established during doing all the practices they had already been doing, and I just don't understand why their reaction to an active shooter, some of them being military professionals, was to pull a fire alarm and go running out the door, because anyone knows that in an active shooter situation, you try to hide and barricade your doors and turn the lights off and basically not exist. So like I said, the FBI had declared something called all assets out, and this is the page asking for details, any details that anyone knows on Aaron Alexis. And I just love how in bright red letter it's just like deceased, deceased. Like, we got him, don't worry about it, we just want to know why he's crazy. The medical officials in this had said a quote, I'll read it right here. Washington Hospital Center said it was treating 3 gunshot victims who were in critical condition and was expecting more to arrive, but it was not clear how many. Why? Why were they expecting more to arrive? If a tragedy like that happened, you should be concerned about the people that you're taking care of, and unless somebody told you, hey, there's more people on the way, why would you think that there's more coming? So to me, this either says that, 1, they had some type of prior knowledge to the incident, or 2, there were victims that were supposed to be brought there, but they weren't for some reason or another. And if that's the case, then you have to ask yourself, well, why wouldn't they be brought there? What would have happened to them in between the time that they were supposed to go and the time that they would have actually went? So I thought that was something that we should look into too. Now, the bodies, they brought them all out on the roof with a helicopter because they said they didn't want to cause chaos or go into the danger zone or whatever during the shooting, yet they thought it was totally fine for everyone to go running out with the fire alarm going. So this is the only footage that we get of bodies. We get far away shots of people on stretchers. I haven't seen blood, and that could be because they're wrapped up, or it could be because there is no blood. So we see, I've only seen footage of 2 bodies, and that's this one on the stretcher that's getting taken out of the helicopter. Oops, sorry, that's the same one. So then he's here again, and you can see the very top of his body. Then here again being brought in, same one. And I think this is going to become the kind of notorious scene for this shooting. Now, if you look at this, we see a man who appears to have been shot in the legs. I'm going to guess that this is the police officer, the oh-so-heroic police officer that got his legs shot off because, you know, we can't have a national hoax unless somebody gets their legs blown off, right? So, I think that this might be him. But either way, we have him sitting up, holding his legs. I still don't see any blood. The thing that he's in, it turns multiple times and you can see all angles of his body. I still don't see any blood anywhere, and he's not even covered up. So it begs the question, how bad are his injuries if he's being airlifted when I don't even see a drop of blood anywhere around him? And I don't think that they would have him sitting upright like this if he had a leg injury. I think that they would probably try to block off blood flow somehow, like maybe tourniquet him, or I'm not sure. That just looks completely wrong to me. Correct me if you're a medical professional and you know, and this looks fine, but to me I think that there should have been more precautions done with that type of injury. So then we have Oh yeah, so there are no bodies that have bloody or wounded blood. Excuse me. Like I said, I've been sick, so I'm just kind of out of it tonight. But there are not any single shots of bloody or wounded victims, simply because they were lifted with the air chopper. And how easy would that be to just bring out actors, really? Just stick them in the chopper and lift them up, and no one knows any better. Now we get to the actual shooter. His name is Aaron Alexis. He's 34 years old. He was African American, and he was born in Flushing, Queens, New York. He served in the military from 2007 to 2011. He was discharged, and I can't find any information as to why. If you know, I would really like to know. This is one of the things I'm the most curious about. But yeah, if you found out, please let me know, because I'd like to know. He was an aviation electrician's mate. He was rank 3, and apparently from what I read is that they work with like lighting, landing gear, small mechanical things on the airplane, nothing like security based as far as, or war based as far as I really understand. Here's an article that kind of tells all about who he is, everything that the military released about him. So Aaron was arrested in 2004 for shooting out the tires in a construction worker's car. The story goes that he was oddly staring, glancing, gazing at construction workers for multiple days on end, and finally one day went outside when one was parked in the driveway near him, near his house that he was staying at, and shot 3 bullets into the tires. Now, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but I guess he admitted and said that he was fueled by blackout anger. And just that term, blackout, that sticks out to me. Because what if this was a PSYOPs operation and he was actually being programmed and they were just kind of testing how well they could control and program him? Because think about it, if you're going to program somebody, you can't just have them go first trial, shoot up everybody in town, because what if something doesn't go right? What if they breach? What if they have a glitch? What if something happens? Whereas this, 2004, is kind of like prepping, like, okay, let's see if we can control you, get you to shoot what we want you to shoot. Alright, you did it, but you're still not going to go to jail because you didn't kill anybody. Well, I don't know, maybe it could just be part of his PTSD that was slowly cracking him, but to me it seems like it's kind of like practice almost. He was arrested again in 2010 when he was cleaning his gun while cooking and accidentally shot it through the floor of his apartment. I mean, every time I cook with large amounts of grease, I always clean my gun just because that's the safe thing to do. But no, so apparently he was really slippery and oily, greasy, and cleaning his gun and accidentally shot, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, even if you try to put it together that way. Why would they let somebody into the military who was so poor with a handgun or with a gun that he couldn't even clean it appropriately without shooting it aimlessly through the ceiling of his neighbor's apartment? So, I don't know, it's just, actually I found this right away. When I was watching it live, I didn't have the name right away, but then they said it, and I found this, and I thought it might be him, and it is, and I love how they just call it, like, accidental discharge of firearm. Again, how are you going to trust somebody with guns that can't even clean it appropriately in your apartment? But if he was being programmed, this could have just been another trial run or a glitch or something like that. Fort Worth residents remember accused shooter. Thank you, Star Telegram video. This is very knowledgeable and informative. What we have here, Sandy Guerra Klein, I believe. She was a resident of Fort Worth, Texas, which is where Aaron Alexis was primarily from, and she would go see him often. He was a waiter, I guess, at this Thai restaurant with his friend, who is in this video. He's worth looking into as well. But she talks about how sweet he was and how she could never see him doing anything like that. He was Buddhist, apparently, and he would meditate. But the thing that I saw in this video was that she mentions that he went to Thailand and that he didn't really tell anybody when he was going to be back. So people were saying, where's Aaron? When's Aaron going to be back? Well, what if he wasn't really in Thailand? What if that was more of the training, the programming, the mind control? Who knows? Maybe it was a trip to Thailand. Who knows? So now I'm going to try to tie this in to a couple of things that are happening recently. If you have two eyes and ears, you know that the government is pushing to have, well, mostly Obama, is pushing to have a war with Syria. And most of us can see that this is for political reasons and not really for saving anybody but a bunch of fat, rich white men that want to do whatever they want to do. But let's just put it this way. So we have an attack on the Washington Navy base, or I'm sorry, the Washington Naval Yard. Now this spends roughly a fourth of the entire Navy's budget, so this one location spends a fourth of the entire budget. They have been actively involved in every single war that America has been a part of before the Civil War. I don't know about after, but I know before the Civil War, even the War of 1812, they built weaponry. There were missiles, 16-inch missiles or 16-inch guns for the ships, I believe, were built there. They just this place is just always building war weaponry. That's basically what they do there. Is they do that for the military. They build up the naval weaponry. So if I'm going to attack Syria, if I'm looking at the map and going, okay, well, I want to attack right here. Am I going to try to attack all the way across this country, all the way across this country, here, here, here overland, or am I going to try to go into this water canal that goes right to Syria? There is water literally all around this country, and the best way and fastest way, in my opinion, to get straight to Syria would be straight through this waterway right here. So I don't know if it ties in or not, but if we were to go to war and that was the method of attack, then that would be with the Navy, which would be the people that are working at the Washington Naval Yard. So does it tie in? Time will tell, but it's funny that the president's trying to push a war with a country that is easiest to get to by water, and we have over here a military base that was just attacked that would attack that country. So it's kind of a stretch. I mean, I can't really figure out why it would be connected, but it's just one of those things that could be correlation but not causation, but it's questionable either way. Here's the thing that just, it blows me away, it kills me. Aaron Alexis was a member of the rescue team at Ground Zero during 9/11. Now, this couldn't have been part of the military because he was only in the military from 2007 to 2011. So I want to find out, and if you know, let me know, but I want to find out exactly what he did during that time period, how he was involved with 9/11. Here's the quote. And this is the investigation that's referenced, is the investigation for the 2004 shooting where he shot out the tires of the construction workers' cars. During the investigation, Alexis's father told detectives Alexis suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder after serving as an active participant in 9/11 rescue efforts at Ground Zero in New York, Seattle police said. So, he was there, but why was he there? We don't know. And it could come to show us exactly why he's the way he is and why it happened, because, maybe he saw oh my god, look at that, guys. Another one. Seriously. I can't make this up. I couldn't make this up if I tried. I'm sure you can find that on a different site, though, but is it possible that Aaron Alexis saw something that he wasn't supposed to during 9/11, so the way that they decided to deal with him was to program him into being a murderer and someone that America could legally kill, makes him completely disappear. No one asks questions. He disappears to Thailand for X amount of time. No one really asks questions, and it's really all about us just looking deeper into this, because I know that there's more to see, and things are a little blurry right now, but I'm sure that the connections will present themselves as soon as we can all dig into this a little deeper. So that's just kind of my initial thoughts, and I will be covering this more, I'm sure, but those are my initial thoughts on this Washington Naval Yard shooting.